Hello! My name, so I am told, means fox in Russian and Polish. So ever since I was told that, I've kind of used foxes as an animal that represents me, really. So today I am going to make a quick end video to put at the end of all of my videos, where my video recommendations will pop up. A little, very simple animation. For this I'm doing it on my iPad. I use Procreate. I have recently installed Photoshop, but I haven't played about with that on my iPad yet. I'm just doing it quite simply. I want this one to be very stylized. I didn't get reference up for this so that I would blow out the proportions more than I would if I was following something. I gave her a flower crown. I animated the tail. It kind of ended up looking like the tail was just waving at you. It's a very simple movement. I only animated it straight ahead. There are different animation techniques, and straight ahead is literally what it sounds like. You just do one frame and then the next and the next. I haven't done much animating on Procreate before, but it's quite easy to use. It's very user-friendly, so I didn't find it difficult at all. I haven't animated in a while, so I did block colouring, but I left it at block colouring. I didn't add much shading or anything. I wanted it to be a very simple fox. So for a lot of the animation of the tail, I was able to cut it out and then just move it step by step, but then obviously the part where it's flicking down to come back up, I needed to redraw the end, but it was very easy. Like I said, it's a very simple animation. I might change my end screen in the future. The movement worked out okay, but I think it could do with maybe a few more frames or less frames in the middle so that it's not such a smooth, solid motion. So once I'd finished animating this very simple fox, I wanted to draw a less simple fox, something that had a bit more life in it. I'm using Hobbycraft's own watercolour postcards. And then I'm using the Winsor & Newton watercolour set. It's a very old set. And it came with this little paintbrush. It didn't come with a black, but I changed out, I think, another brown. I use Pentel watercolour brush. And then I'm using my Faber-Castell erasable coloured pencil. This won't bleed into the watercolours. I start with the rough shapes and then put in a little bit of detail, but I don't go crazy because it's more in the sense of figuring out where things are. And then when it came to the watercolours, I started from light to dark. I started with my lightest colours, and then I worked over that and over that, adding more strength to my colour. And then I added in some of the stronger colours, and I just kept working over it to build up the tone that I wanted to get to. Watercolours aren't generally my strong suit, but I do enjoy doing them, so I've been doing watercolours a lot more recently, so I do feel like I'm slowly improving. So once I built up on my stronger colours and the oranges and the yellows, I went into my darker colours and I added those in, but I wanted to do those last, but they need to be very precise when I put them down, because if I do it wrong, it's unchangeable. I can't just go over it like you can with acrylics. And then when it came to the background, I wanted that to be less strong so that it had a nice contrast to the fox itself. So it was quite a greyed out, distant background, and then more of the foreground was a bit stronger in colour, but still not as strong as the oranges of the fox. Behind him was just a lot of long grass, so I tried to give that more of a mimic rather than having it detailed. And then I reinforced that when I got onto using the pens. The pens that I used, they're calligraphy pens, but they've got a fine tip as well, and they have some nice colours in this little set. So I used the more natural colours, the browns, the greens, and a bit of the blues, just to highlight the stronger points. So there was some twigs in front of the fox, and then some of the green parts of the grass. The bit by his feet was a lot stronger than the rest of it, so I tried to highlight that with the other colours. And it was just a very grassy area, and that's easier to do with these kind of pens. But I wanted to put in some fur detail, so this was a nice way to do it. I had different tones. I used the oranges and the browns and the darker browns, and I just gave the impression of fur on him, and I think it brought him out a lot more. And I liked it when he looked more separated from the background, but I wanted it to be more of an inclusive looking piece where it was all one. So I went over pieces of grass with the different tones of greens and some greys, and I feel like that brought the piece together quite nicely. And here he is. I think he's quite sweet. The paper's curled up, but that's just because it's cheaper paper. I haven't prepared the paper. With watercolour paper, you're meant to put it onto a rim board, tape it down and wet it. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you for the next video on Monday.